If it's okay, I'd like to go a little bit back in history just to remember how we got to where we are today. If you remember the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire in New York back in 1911. Young girls were in a sweatshop on a 10th floor of a building in a factory, and the owner of the factory would lock the exits because he was afraid they would take unauthorized breaks, and he was afraid that they'd steal things on the way out, some buttons or whatever, so he'd lock them in. And so a fire breaks out on the 10th floor of this building, and the owner gets away, and the foreman escapes, but 146 young ladies died in the fire. Some of them, about a third of them, from having to jump out of the building. The argument that workers get too much when they're fairly compensated from an injury at the job has to keep in mind the system we came from, which is a system where it was totally slanted in favor of employers. And so where in that case, the Triangle Shirt case, the employer, upon being found guilty for wrongful death, only had to pay $75 per death. Nobody wants to go back to the turn of the century when life was cheap. Workers could be injured with impunity and there'd be no consequence. We don't want to go back to that.
Right.
And we don't want a state where, you know, companies can't afford to work. But we do want a state where workers are treated with dignity and respect, and they have the right to work in a place that's safe, and it's not cheap to injure them. That's what we really want.